Giving. Giving a little bit from something that I work for to someone else. And it's called tru'mah. There's tru'mah I give to the Kohanim, or was supposed to. Now we don't do that anymore. There's tru'mah to the levi, and then there's tru'mah to the poor. We live in a society, or live in a time, where many people say, why should I give to somebody who's not working? Why should I give my hard-earned, even a little bit of my hard-earned money to somebody who's sitting around not doing anything? This is completely opposite of Jewish thinking and of the idea of tru'mah. There was Kohanim who weren't working in the base of Mikdash in the temple, and we still gave tru'mah to the Kohanim collectively because they were on Shmurah. They had rotations. Not every single Kohen in all of Israel was always in Jerusalem working. Many of them were just in their cities where they lived, but yet you still had to give a portion. The Levites, it's the same thing. And to the poor, and to the widow, and to the orphan. Constantly giving, or the idea of giving, is essential and core to Judaism. So it shocks me when I meet people who say that they're religious, Jewish, and they get really upset about the idea of welfare or taxes or giving to people that aren't citizens or aren't working. They're like, well, we shouldn't do that. Why should I have to give my money to somebody else? They should get a job. They're not legal. They're not legal citizens, so we shouldn't give our money to them. We shouldn't help them. Just from my limited understanding, that's not the way that the Bible and the codes, the religious codes, think about giving. They don't think about it whether or not the person's a citizen or not a citizen. It's to help people, to give. And none of that, nothing we have is really ours anyways. Which is, I think, the idea of tru'mah. The idea of tru'mah is to instill that really everything we have is from above, as they say. So, but of course, we're not supposed to give everything away because that's just foolish. Maimonides, Rambam says you would be a foolish heretic or an idiot, so to speak, to impoverish yourself by giving away everything. You're not supposed to do that. That's not being pious to give everything away. You're supposed to have something for yourself. You're supposed to mine it. What's mine is mine, is what's yours is yours. What's mine is mine, is what's mine is yours, is the ultimate aim. And that's the mark of the pious person. It says this in Pirkei Avot, what's mine is mine and what's mine is yours. Meaning I have something to give. And I also have what to give. And I don't begrudge it. I don't do it begrudgingly. I do it with simcha and with joy because I'm actually connecting stronger to the Creator. In addition to this, the fact that there actually are poor people, and in the first few pages of the Talmud, circle around the idea of the poor people and what time they eat, and about the priests and what time they eat, whether or not it's the same time or a different time, shows that poverty was in the system or like existed, and maybe always has and maybe always will. Although we do find in the Torah some verses that state pretty explicitly that if you do all the mitzvot, if you do them, then there'll be brachas and blessings, and there'll be rain in the proper time, and there won't even be miscarriages. A woman won't have a miscarriage. Animals won't have miscarriages. It's an incredible phenomenon, promise. But in the meantime, until we actually see that promise, you're supposed to give. So if there were no poor people, we wouldn't have to do. We wouldn't. That would be one of the things we'd wouldn't have to give. But since there are, another way to get somebody out of poverty is slavery, which doesn't seem to be the ideal in the Bible, but slavery did exist and still actually does exist in the world, unfortunately. But of course, the slavery that exists in the world is not the biblical slavery. But not to dwell on that too much because it's obviously a big topic and people get very upset about this, rightfully so. I mean, why would God put it into the Bible if it's not true and if it's not good, so to speak? But there's lots of things in the Bible that aren't good. It's not good to get divorced, but it's a mitzvah to get divorced. Um, According to Judaism, it's a mitzvah to divorce if the couple can't live together. To the man should divorce his wife and give her a get. I mean, but nobody can say that divorce is good. Um, I mean, the Talmud also says that the God's throne cries when couples are going through a divorce. I don't even know what that means, but apparently it's very traumatic to God itself when a couple can't live together in harmony. But anyways, we're only supposed to be about just a little bit back to the slaves, but again, I don't want to get too much into it. We're only supposed to be avadim to Hashem. We're only supposed to be slaves to God, not to other people. But just in case you fall into a situation where you can't pay back your debts or you steal something and you can't afford to pay the fine, you're gonna get sold into slavery. It's just the way it was. And you can marry or you can sell your daughter into a situation where she is a slave to a family and she's supposed to eventually be married to the master or to the master's sons, one of his sons, or and that's supposed to get her out of that situation, impoverished situation, is through marrying her into a wealthier family. So it seems that it's not the ideal state that there's slavery, but it's a recognition that there is, just like there's poverty, and just like there are people who just can't afford things. And we're supposed to give to them, and then back onto the tru'mah. Uh, it's an essential part of our religion is giving. So think about that in general, and let's make sure that we're trying to aim for what's mine is mine, what's mine is mine, and what's mine is yours. And again, just to say it again, I have things, and I'm able to have things, but I'm also supposed to share those things with other people.